Hi, my name is Dan McDonough, Group Training and Development Manager here at TRX. Welcome to the weekly sequence. Let's make it happen. Okay, in this weekly sequence, what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to hinge from the hip, making sure that a lot of movements are happening from the hips and not your lower back. The first exercise is going to be the single leg hip hinge. You're going to keep the suspension trainer at mid-length, so Liana's going to grab the handles, walk back. I'm going to get her to start with her hands about mid-body. Now, if you have less flexibility, you can start with the hands higher. If there's more flexibility, you can start with the hands lower. From here, I'm going to get her to center her left leg to the anchor point. She's going to lift up her right knee and find the balance. From here, she's going to hinge from the hip while simultaneously pressing down on both handles, reaching back with this leg, and I'm going to get her to pause. What we're looking for at the bottom of the movement is to square out the hips and lifting this back leg and making it very active. From here, she's going to focus on bringing this leg actively towards the ground, hinging from the hips, and bringing the feet back together. One more time, simultaneously pressing, hinging from the hip, keeping a nice straight spine. Remember, this trail leg is still very active, so simultaneously she presses down and brings that leg towards the ground. All right, let's do 2 more reps on the other side. She's going to center the other leg. So remember, the hands are very active here, so simultaneously pressing down and reaching and hinging from the hip and coming up. Nicely done. So again, looking for that nice straight line, that active plank, even in that hinge, and coming back up. Great. So what we've done here is we've warmed up the hamstring, and we've taught Liana how to hinge from the hip, not the lower back. The next exercise we're going to move into is the sumo squat. This is going to break down tension in the adductors. So she's going to take her legs slightly wider than her shoulders to where she feels comfortable, and the toes are going to turn out slightly. Elbows are stacked under the shoulders, and based on her range of motion and her flexibility right now, she's going to slowly lower her body to the ground, focus on digging the big toes in, keeping the weight through the heels. She's going to drive the hips up, and one more time. Now what I'm getting Liana to do is make sure we want those knees slightly forward of the ankle, keeping the weight through the middle of the foot, driving through up, hinging from the hips. A couple more reps, Liana. So we're breaking down tension in the adductors. We've warmed up the hamstrings. We've taught her how to hinge from the hip. Nicely done. This is going to take us into the last exercise in this sequence, which is going to be the squat from the bottom up, promoting great hip mobility and ankle flexibility. So she's going to lean back at a really easy angle. Her stance with her feet are slightly wider than her shoulders. She's going to slowly lower her hips to the ground in a hack squat position. From here, she's going to pull herself over the middle of her feet, making sure that the big toe is into the ground. She's going to stomp like a gorilla. How do those inner thighs feel? Nice and warm? From this position here, she's got a really good deep squat. The heels are still on the ground, so I know she's in the right position. From here, she's going to gently press down on the handles and come up. Going to get her to lean back one more time, unload, drop the hips down towards the heels, pull herself forward into the middle of her foot. Big toe is down, heel is down, and she drives herself down. One more time, Liana. Leaning back, lowering down, pulling herself forward into that great extension and driving up and extension. Great, nicely done. So there we have a great series of movement that teaches you to hinge from the hip, warm up the hamstring, breaking down tension in the inner thighs, which promotes great hip mobility to allow her to get nice and deep into that squat. Thank you for joining us for the weekly sequence. Be sure to join us next week for more free TRX TV content.